De La Salle University, honored guests, family and friends, good morning. On behalf of the Agpalo family, I would like to thank the De La Salle University for setting up a section in its library for the beloved collection of my late father, Dr. Remigio E. Agpalo. Not only was he an author of several books and monographs in political science, he was also an indefatigable reader and spent a large portion of his income on books, and as a result, amassed this large collection that has been donated to this school. His books were everywhere inside his rented apartment in Kamuning Street. The overflow of his bookshelves was the floor, where books were piled one on top the other. He read a wide variety of subjects that included poetry and Western medieval literature. The books that we shall see later were accumulated throughout his professional life. He neither owned a car nor a house. These books, therefore, represent his biggest investment. My father was born in Mamburao, Occidental Mindoro, on June 10, 1928. The third of 8 children born to Paulino Agpalo and Consuelo Escalona. As a child growing up in Mamburao, he already showed great promise of his future academic potential by graduating valedictorian of his elementary class and valedictorian of his high school class in Batangas. By a stroke of fate, he found a patron in the person of Dr. Milton Proctor, who made his dream to study in the USA a reality and gave him a chance to finish his undergraduate studies at the University of Maine, where he also finished with the highest honors. Sorry. He returned to the Philippines in September of 1952 to make good his promise of sharing his knowledge with fellow Filipinos. He opted to teach at the University of the Philippines rather than accept a higher paying job with an American multinational company. And he began his academic career in June of 1953. 3 years later, he got an educational grant from the Rotary Club and was able to pursue higher studies at the University of Indiana. In his eulogy about my father, Dr. Malaya Rona said, Dr. Agpalo was very serious about his academic work. Preparation and persistence, he believed, are indispensable in any kind of work. Even before embarking on his doctoral studies at Indiana University, he had thought of his research proposal and started his field work. When he was formally admitted to the doctoral program, his research was nearly completed. He left for the US, he said, with one baul full of data with him. He completed his Master of Arts and PhD in 3 years. And because I cannot say it better, may I share these words from Dr. Felipe V. Miranda, who was not only my father's colleague, but also his esteemed friend. And I quote, several times in our long association, I had mentioned to Remy that his academic legacy is a most valuable one, and how in every study he diligently made, every book and article he meticulously published, and every student he conscientiously nurtured across the decades, this precious legacy would be transmitted to countless others. Filipino political thought, national elite studies, and local politics are only 3 of his enduring contributions to Philippine and Asian political science. In these areas, his enviable integrative skill made it possible to clinically dissect political phenomena and at the same time enrich the resulting analysis with refreshing poetry and other welcome insights from the finer arts. His 1965 study of Occidental Mindoro politics is an excellent illustration of integrated scholarship. You mentioned it earlier, the Fandango sa Ilaw. This comprehensive Renaissance orientation was actually already discernible in his undergraduate honors thesis at Maine. And just this morning when I came in, Dr. Bihanti showed me that that thesis is still in existence and is part of the collection. I'm really happy, Dr. Bihanti. And so it is with much pleasure and delight that we turn over this beloved collection to the De La Salle University Library, where it will find a repository. It is indeed fitting that this formal turnover is being done today on the occasion of my father's birth anniversary. The Agpalo family is deeply honored that this collection has been brought here and given a whole section at this prestigious university's library, where my father was given a professorial chair soon after his retirement from the University of the Philippines. We hope that the university will preserve this collection and promote it to serious students of political and social science, to be read and dissected and discussed as archived collections are meant to be. We are glad that his collection will be in good hands and will outlive us all. Dr. Miranda, again, in his email to me said, and I quote, "Academic treasures, unlike other valuables, are best shared with as broad a collection of collaborators as possible. Many of these academic collaborators are yet unborn, but in due time, several decades, perhaps even a century from now, they will revel in the lasting legacy bequeathed to them by their pioneering colleagues." End of quote. As we preserve this academic treasure and archive these books and papers, we also enshrine the memory of one man who personified the march of Philippine history. Born during the peacetime of American colonization, he was a product of the universal education established by the American public school system, widely divergent from the religion-centered institutions championed by Spanish colonizers. Although he was not technically a government pensionado, as he had his own patrons, my father was nevertheless part of the throng of Filipino scholars sent for further training to America, the new mother country. This shift to an intellectually based elite nudged the country a little farther away from the traditionally land-based, wealth-controlling elite and signified a new era in the power equation of the country. His return to the Philippines in the formative years after World War II coincided with the country's struggle to find stability and structure to strengthen its societal underpinnings. As my father wrote his observations and analysis, he helped the country understand itself, and in so doing, strengthening itself and himself. He witnessed the many changes in the political wind, but remained true to what he constitutes, to what he believed constitutes part of this nation's strength: pagdamay at pag-ibig. On the occasion of his 74th birthday, on June 10, 2002, exactly 11 years ago, my father wrote to the Mamburao USA Association in California and expounded on John Donne's "No man is an island," the Filipino folk saying, "Ang sakit ng kalingkingan ay sakit ng buong katawan," and concluded with St. Paul's words from the book of Corinthians, "If one part is hurt, all parts hurt with it. If one part is given special honor, all enjoy it." From the partisanship of tribal affiliations and clan loyalties, this country, hopefully, is slowly moving to the realization of what my father championed with his pen and his teaching and illustrated with his life: pagdamay at pag-ibig. In closing, may I extend the Agpalo family's appreciation to Professor Jeff Olpato, who mentioned my father's collection to Dr. Julius Pihanti, who in turn gave Mr. Olpato the idea of creating an Agpalo collection in this library. Both of them were largely responsible in orchestrating this collection to be brought here. To my cousin, Chito Agpalo Ramirez, unfortunately he cannot be with us today. He was the one who persuaded the rest of the family to agree to this donation. And to the Salle University Library in serving as a repository to my father's collection, thereby perpetuating his academic and scholastic legacy. Thank you very much, and good day to all of you.